Hello and welcome. So this is a little bit different than what I usually do. You'll usually see me having some instructional videos for Spanish, but this time we're going to look at something that I did for myself and for other teachers out there, just kind of an educational experiment. I'm going to explain what it was and then kind of go into what the results were of it. What you see on the screen now is the image of a blog that I wrote kind of leading up to what I did here. If you want to read that, you can. There'll be a link to it in the description of the video. So what I did was I made it so that my students did not have to do their homework for one chapter. Meaning usually my homework is expected. It's mandatory. Here's your assignment. I expect you to finish it by tomorrow. If you don't, you'll lose points. And then if you turn in like 2 days late, you get 0 points. That type of thing. A usual type of homework policy. So what I did is for one chapter, I made it so that homework was not mandatory. So if I gave you assignment 1 and you didn't do it, it was due tomorrow, you would basically get 0 out of 0 points. It would not negatively affect your grade. So I'm going to show you the results of that. I'm going to kind of go a little bit backwards here on this chart of information. Let's do this first. Let's jump down here to the bottom where it says on-time homework completion. So this chart over here, or this first bit of information, this is from the chapter prior to when I did this experiment. So my students this fall, right now, we're doing about an 80% on average completion of their homework on time. That doesn't include if they did it late. So 4 to 5 students, they do their homework every night, basically. Now for this no homework mandatory chapter, that number was cut in half. So a whole bunch of students decided, I'm just not going to do the homework. And so they didn't do it on time or at all, really. So that's the first thing. We had a lot of less kids doing homework. Now let's jump up here. What I had to do is compare data from this experiment I did with my students to my last year's Spanish 1 class because I wanted to compare 2 of the exact same chapters or units so that I could have the same, look at the same stuff, same tests being graded. I think that'd be the best way to compare them. So for last fall, my students passed on average 83% of their ELOs. ELO just means essential learning outcome. It's like mastery learning. You have to get a certain grade on a concept to show that you understand it to pass the class. So out of all those concepts that are on this test, 83% of them are passed on the first try by my students. For this experimental, you don't have to do your homework this chapter, on that same test just a year later, but no homework, that number dropped to 69%. So that's an immediate 14% drop. I do want you to keep in mind, however, that for this year's chapter test for 2015, there was one of these ELOs, these essential learning outcomes, I made easier on the test. So if I were to give that same test to this class over here a year ago, this number would be greater by probably a few percentage points. I'm just speculating, but it would be over 15%, I think. So that's a huge drop in performance from the doing your homework normally to the homework is no longer mandatory. That tells me they need to do the homework because really it gives them that connection at home with what it is I'm teaching them in class. If you want to delve deeper into my thoughts on that, you can read that blog. The vocabulary quiz. So I give them quizzes every chapter, vocab and a grammar quiz. These don't have as much of a change. As you can see, it's only dropped by 1% and 3%. So that doesn't really tell me anything. The only difference here with regards to these quizzes and then this test up here is that the quizzes are like this. They're very focused. So this is just a quiz on vocabulary, and then this is just a quiz on these grammatical concepts. The unit test is really just like a culmination or a combination of the 2 things put together. It's just everything together. And this is really a better picture of how well we're doing on the concepts I'm teaching them. So what I learned here in the end is that if I were to just take this one piece at a time and look at it, it tells me that students should do their homework. Whether or not how much they do or how in-depth it should be, that's a different discussion. But they should have some connection to my material outside of class because it will give them greater confidence and ability to be successful on their assessments in class. If you've done anything similar to this in your classroom, maybe drop a comment in the comment section. I'd be interested to hear how it went. Or if you have any questions or things I didn't answer, let me know in the comment section below and I will answer your questions. Thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.